about to leave. Already packing, come with me. I'm not.
Hello friends and enemies, welcome back to Happy For Now. It's me, Isabel, here with November favorites collab with a whole bunch of romance booktubers that I love so much. I love them in bits and pieces, and I can't wait to share all of our monthly favorites for you. There's a playlist that I will link to with everyone, with all the previous month's favorites, and to everyone's channel in the comment box below. So be sure you go check them out and subscribe if you haven't already. And what else? I think that's it. So I'm gonna roll the tape of their favorites, which I don't know what they picked, and I cannot wait to find out. I'm so excited. And then I'll come back at the end and tell you mine, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Hi everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here to tell you about my favorites for November. So I know I'm only supposed to pick one, but I just couldn't because these two are so different, but I really love them both. So the books I'm going to talk about are The Mistletoe Connection by Chelsea Pennington and Sunrise on Half Moon Bay by Robin Carr. So The Mistletoe Connection is about a bunch of people who are stuck in the airport on Christmas Eve, and it is so good, you guys. This is a debut novel, and yet it was so impressive, so good. All these people are stuck in the airport, and all of their stories interconnect, but in a way that is very, very realistic. Like, this boy ran into this person at the snack shop, and so now we hear about this girl at the snack shop, and it goes through all their stories, but we continue to get all of them until it feels like kind of like a community. And I don't know if you guys have ever been stuck anywhere with like a group of strangers, but by the end you do kind of feel like a community. And so I love the way it captured that vibe. It was Christmas Eve, so I love that. And then also, like, it's got YA romance, it's got kind of family drama, it's got no matter what you like, there's some of that kind of in there if you like contemporary books. And so I would highly, highly, highly recommend that one. And then also Sunrise on Half Moon Bay by Robin Carr. This one is about two sisters who are 20 years apart. And so one of them, the older one, went off and started this like career in law and had this family, yada, yada, yada. The younger one then was stuck at home. The younger one then stayed at home, and when she was in her teen years, I think, or like right around the time she became an adult, their mother got diagnosed with an illness of sorts. And so she made it her full-time career to take care of the mother. The older sister supported the younger sister financially so she could be the full-time caretaker for the mom. Well, now present day, things have just kind of fallen apart in both of their worlds. Their mother has passed away, so the younger sister is like, what is my purpose? Because this has been my only job, is taking care of her mother. And then the older one, I think her husband cheats on her or something like that. And so her world is kind of falling apart. And these two women have to come back together as sisters and rely on each other and find a relationship in a way that they haven't had before. And I just love it. It is great women's fiction at its finest. It's a standalone. I would highly, highly recommend it as well. So those are my two favorite books. Izzy, I'm sorry for cheating. I'm trying to keep this quick so it doesn't drag on. But again, my name is Chloe. My channel name is Always Booked. I would love it if you came and hung out with me there.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole from Who Picked This Book, and my favorite romance read in the month of November is the Fortress Defense series by Julianne Lindsay. There's actually 4 books in this series, but technically I read the 4th book the first week of December, so that one doesn't count for November reads, but I read these 3 books in November. The first one is Deadly Cover-Up, second one is Missing in the Mountains, and the third one is Marine Protector. So in Deadly Cover-Up, we have Violet and Wyatt. Violet is on her way back to her hometown when she is told that her grandmother has suffered an accident and she's actually comatose in the hospital. When she arrives, she finds out that her grandmother actually hired Wyatt as a bodyguard because she believed she was in danger. Wyatt works for the Fortress Defense, which is a group of 4 men. 2 are brothers who have served in the military, and when they were discharged, they came home and started this Fortress Defense group, which is a protective detail group. Violet also has a little girl that she wants to protect, so stakes are a little bit higher. Wyatt has to protect not only Violet, but the baby as well. He also doesn't want to tip off the person who is doing these awful things that he is there trying to figure out the whodunit and also as a protective detail. So they let basically everybody in town think that they're dating. So there's the fake dating trope. And I really love the interactions between Wyatt and the little baby. It's just very, very cute, and I just turn to mush whenever like they're interacting together because it's just so adorable. Like there's just something about like these strong alpha men and that just turns to jelly for their women and little babies. So adorable. The next book is Missing in the Mountains, and we have Sawyer and Emma. This has a second chance romance trope. Sawyer and Emma had a kind of whirlwind romance when he was on leave for a month, and then he went back on tour, and she finds out during their months together she had become pregnant. So she tries to call him and leaves voice messages for him. None of the voicemails say that she's pregnant. She kind of wants to wait until they're talking to tell him the big news. But he never returns her calls, and that is a source of hurt for her. But it turns out that Sawyer was actually captured and was a prisoner of war and tortured. So he does listen to her messages, but he believes that he is so damaged that she is just better off not knowing him. So he never looks for her. So he doesn't know that he has a baby. And obviously there are some hurt feelings. There's the miscommunication trope as well. The last book that I read in November is Marine Protector. In this book, we have Lindy and Cade. Lindy is targeted by a serial killer who only abducts certain type of women who look exactly like Lindy. So Lindy is on a walk with her baby and she's almost abducted. The detective involved in this case actually recommends the Fortress Defense as a protective detail for Lindy. So that's how she calls and how Cade is involved. This also has a fake relationship. They pretend to be together in hopes of drawing the serial killer out, kind of forcing him to, get upset and hopefully make a mistake enough to get captured. So this book also has the fake dating trope as well. All of these books have really sweet moments, swoon-worthy romance moments, but also it is very intense. The stakes are very high. Like honestly, someone is trying to kill the protagonist like every single chapter. So your adrenaline is going the entire book as well. So if you kind of like the mystery, the whodunit, and the intense circumstances like that of like suspense books or thriller books, and want to kind of dip your toe into romance, this is definitely a really great series for you to try. These are considered quote unquote clean romances, meaning that there is no graphic sex on page, which I really don't like that term because I don't feel like other romances that have graphic sex are dirty, but that is what they are considered clean romances. So if you don't particularly like that aspect of romance, this is also definitely a really great series for you since it doesn't have that graphic on page. Those are my favorite reads for the month of November. Thank you, Izzy, for putting this collaboration together, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from Steph's Romance Book Talk, and this collaboration has been such a joy. So the month of November gave me 5 different romances that, actually 6 different romances that I gave 5 stars to, but I'm here to tell you guys about one of them. The one that I really want to tell you about, you kind of need to read a whole entire series and a whole bunch of other books, so I'm not going to give that one to you. But I am going to give you guys this standalone that you can read on its own, which is Little Lies by H. Hunting. Now, this book right here is new adult angst amazingness. I mean, you guys, technically you probably should know the parents that are involved in this so that you can gather who all the extra characters are within this story, but you don't have to. That is the best part about this book, or one of the best things about this book, because this whole book is amazing and I loved every single angsty, crazy, anxiety-ridden moments of this book. So in this story we have Lavender, who is a special young woman, and you have Kodiak, who is a family friend and her brother's best friend. Lavender is a twin, so there is a lot of leaning on the twin sort of feels in this book, but at the same time having that extra person that's involved. Yes. So good. Well, they're children, and then they grow up, and they're in college together. So they're doing things. They're experiencing some things. There's a real sort of hate that is involved in the beginning of this book, and then you find out why, and your heart's ripped open, and you feel for these two characters and for what they go through. Throughout this whole entire story, there are content warnings and trigger warnings for anxiety and trauma and a couple of other mental health disorders that are talked about, but they are discussed throughout this story, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I hope that you will take a chance on Little Lies by H. Hunting, because it is one of my favorites for the month of November.
Hey everyone, my name's Temecka. I'm from the channel Library of Tomes, and my favorite book that I read in November is actually not a book, but it's a whole series, but we're just going to talk about the first book, and that is Queen Takes Knights. And this, I don't remember the author's name, because why would I remember that? Have you met me? Hi. This is a vampire series that it's also a reverse harem. It follows this girl named Shara who has no idea that she's a vampire, and she gets discovered by these two vampires, and they keep calling her my queen. She's very confused. She has no idea she's a vampire queen, and it's her story, and she takes these vampire knights as her bloods. They kind of become like her little army, essentially, and it is very adorable and steamy. Like, it is pure vampire smut, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful time. There were so many bodies in this series, and there's a lot of blood, so if you are not a fan of blood play, I would not recommend you really dive into this one. However, I would say that this one also is not that bad, because I'm really squeamish and it didn't really bother me. It is fun and it's addicting, and I listened to the first audiobook and finished the entire series within like a week. So yeah, I really recommend it. That's my pick for my favorite book of November.
Wow, okay. So I'm gonna second Temecka's pick, because I already know what she picked, because I watched the clip, because I had to check before I could pick my favorite, and I know that she picked the House of Isidore series, and I'm just gonna second that you should definitely check it out, especially if you're in a reading slump, because we are both obsessed with this series, and I can't wait to finish it this month maybe, or at least continue reading the series for a little while this month. It was so good. It was so good. Like, so good. Yeah, so my favorite, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna pick a book I finished on the 1st of December, because I didn't have a bad reading month, but everything I loved was sequels. So I didn't want to give you a sequel I loved to read, because that feels like not a great starting point to a series. So instead, I'm going to pick the book that is probably one of the more popular books of the year, but I think it was well worth the hype and well deserved. That is Take a Hint, Dani Brown. I really loved Dani. I loved Zaf. I think that they were such a great couple. My goodness, my by heart could not stop crushing on both of them. I honestly just like goals, both of those two. They were so delightful. It had just enough hint of like grumpy sunshine to it that I really, really loved it. And I just really enjoyed visiting the Brown sisters again and getting Dani's story. I especially loved who Dani was as a person, and how the book was her journey of figuring out what she wanted out of life and how she could balance those goals and those work-driven goals with things like finding love. So yeah, it was utterly delightful. I cannot recommend Dani Brown enough. If you were kind of okay with Chloe Brown, I still think you might like Dani Brown more. And yeah, give it a try if you haven't yet. I do think it's worth the hype. On that note, that's all we've got this month for our faves. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching this video. There will be links in the description box to all the books we talked about, and the playlist with all the previous month's favorites, and along with everyone who collaborated with me. Thanks so much, everybody. You can also find links to all of my social medias in the description box down below, including Goodreads, Instagram, and Twitter. And I think that's it. I will see you all in a few days. Bye.
Really asking, we'll get away to a place where we don't know.